Hi, everybody. I'm Hannah Carsonell. I'm doing a presentation today on racial justice policy writing and civic engagement for quarantine racism educational services. And we're going to be discussing how to enact change locally from the PTA to city council and nonprofit organizations. I have my background in public policy and I've worked with various nonprofits as well. So, this is a little bit about us. We are Black owned, veteran owned. We provide free resources. We have an equity course on sale for $99 currently. We have textbooks that are for sale, and we also provide free articles, graphics, and videos on our initiatives and current events in education and education policy, which there's been a lot going on recently. And we are dedicated to serving and supporting students, teachers, administrators, and parents through emphasizing equity and the strength of diversity in the classroom. So this is our team here. Dr. Al-Mumin, who is a racial equity brand ambassador based in Nevada. Myself, I'm also a racial equity brand ambassador based in Massachusetts. And Dr. Campbell, our founder, who is a former principal and educator and is based in New Jersey. So to start off, I wanted to first delve into the importance of local politics, elections, and civic engagement, because I feel as if it's not discussed enough, and these are really things that impact us on a daily basis. So local elections have real consequences. Whether it's the guarantee of having healthy drinking water or the benefits of maintained streets and bridges. Local judges, sheriffs, mayors, school board members, etc., have a profound effect on our daily lives. And I also might do a presentation in the future on judges and sheriffs. So stay tuned for that because I feel like that's also important to discuss. In terms of civic engagement is defined as individual and collective actions designed to identify and address issues of public concern. So here is the process of policy writing. So what you first want to do is determine which policy issue you want to focus on. Then you want to determine your objective and the purpose of your policy in order to address that policy issue. Number 3, conduct research on said policy issue, address who, what, when, and where. Number 4, consider stakeholders, the audience, and those impacted, school board members, students, teachers, administrators, parents. 5, outline the purpose, procedures, methods, operations, and practices of policies. So what does the policy do and how is it going to be implemented? 6, be direct within your writing. Don't be vague with anything. Just really speak directly about exactly what it is that you want your policy to achieve. Review and edit. And finally, number 8, use your conclusion to refer back to the issue and how your policy addresses that issue. So this is going into more of explaining the policy process. So you want to determine your policy issue, the objective and purpose of your policy to address that issue. Conduct research on said policy issue, address the who, what, when, and where. Consider the stakeholders, audience, and those impacted, school board members, parents, teachers, students. Outline the purpose, the procedures, methods, and operations of practices that are surrounding the policy. So what does it do and how is it going to do that? And again, be direct within your writing, review and edit consistently, and use your conclusion in order to refer back to the policy issue and discuss how your policy addresses it. So over here, I thought this was a good checklist of policy writing do's and don'ts. So for the do's, define the policy's objective, conduct thorough research, consult stakeholders, use clear and concise language, review and revise, and use a consistent format. Now, for the don'ts, don't overcomplicate the issue, use ambiguous language. Again, we want to be very direct with what we're attempting to achieve. Neglect legal and regulatory requirements, include specific names, and you don't want to ignore feedback. So, this is an example of a policy that I actually have done a fair amount of research on, HR 4011, which is the Counseling Not Criminalization Act. So I have written and researched this policy and also used it to propose policies of my own. So on the left, I'm going to begin with discussing how I've written about it and policy proposals, and then I'm going to um, read off of the exact bill. So here's my policy writing. There are some potential ways of moving forward to address the issues surrounding the presence of police in schools. There should be an increase in funding for school counselors and other school officials who are representative of students of color and are trained to be culturally, emotionally sensitive towards students of different backgrounds. The systemically racist issues of public management of schools through the use of school resource officers should be addressed by dismantling this broken system with new ideas of public management of safety and security in schools displayed in this bill, HR 4011. So, what this bill is attempting to do, you can see there, states to divert federal funding away from supporting the presence of police in schools and toward evidence based and trauma informed services that address the needs of marginalized students and improve academic outcomes and for other purposes. So, the PTA, the importance of the PTA is that it's an opportunity to bring awareness to issues within the school and potentially make changes after doing so. So I looked at a study of what the impacts of the PTA within schools and exactly what it does for academic progress as well. So graduation rates for students of color, students with disabilities, and economically disadvantaged students are all significantly higher in schools with PTAs. For each of the different institutions I'm going to be describing, I wanted to include case studies so we can really get a personal and individual example of everything to make it more clear. So for this PTA case study, I looked at two Texas PTAs that made a really great impact in their communities. So these schools are Bertha Casey Elementary School and Ridgeview Middle School. Their PTAs have been focused on supporting students through DEI initiatives, and both of these schools were actually awarded in 2022 with national PTA grants. So for the school board is important because school board members determine the budget for the schools, decide upon school policies. They have an ability to hold school officials accountable for their actions, and they determine expectations and goals for the district. So for the school board case study, we're going to speak about Norfolk, Virginia, and their school board there. So their school board in Norfolk, Virginia voted 5-2, rejecting Trump's ban on DEI programs, and they also directed their superintendent to not sign a compliance letter with the Trump administration's executive order. For city council is important because it serves as the lawmaking body for the city, which affects a various amount of things such as property taxes, policy priorities in the city, the location of schools and housing, and they determine regulations such as public health and safety regulations. So for the city council case study, I wanted to address the Scottsdale, Arizona City Council, which recently voted to eliminate their DEI programs. And this vote was done without any community outreach. They made this decision behind closed doors. So for county commission is imperative because the county commission acts as the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government in your local community. They determine both policy and its implementation, decide budget and planning for the county, and serve on other boards, including health, transit, pollution control, and housing. So, for the county commission case study, I wanted to discuss the LA County Commission. So, recently, they have done something I think is very important, and they created their first annual report on hate crimes in April of this year, last month. They expanded determinants of hate crimes within this. So, for example, they included on the list of hate crimes someone being threatened with being reported to ICE, as well as white supremacist flyers and literature being distributed in public places. Something else I wanted to touch upon and why I included this picture for the city council is I wanted to show that some city council and county commissions, they actually will live stream their meetings as well. And for some cities and counties, you can leave a comment online or email them if you can't make the meeting so they can still address your comment even if you're not able to attend. So, in terms of nonprofits are extremely important because they can address issues of limited resources and they're not required to follow these new federal education laws and restrictions. They can also increase opportunities and achievements. So, I wanted to discuss two different nonprofit case studies. This was one of the first ones that popped up in my head when I was researching for this. So there's the Moms for Liberty organization, which is an anti-DEI organization that lobbied, endorsed, and elected school board members. This example is I really have enjoyed seeing how creative different organizations and libraries have gotten in my home state of Florida to address not just with these with the current policies banning DEI, but before that there was the Stop Woke Act in Florida, which was banning DEI in schools before the executive order. So they've gotten really creative in my home state and they've decided to do different after school programs and weekend schools where they're teaching students about Black history. So yeah, various nonprofits and libraries in Florida have decided to run their own after school and weekend Black history programs. So for my personal case study, I wanted to include some of the work I did when I worked with my local Black Lives Matter county chapter in Florida. So, what we did as a group is we conducted research on how to address police brutality. We looked at the example of Eugene, Oregon, that has implemented therapists and psychologists to go to certain calls, like if there's a wellness check or alongside police and interacting with the person before the police. So we discussed that at county commission meetings. We proposed different policies at these meetings. And then after the meetings, we wrote press releases on these policies to our email lists for different people that were supporting us, just to let them know what was going on with that. So, what did happen is, unfortunately, a majority of the commission at the time disagreed with our proposals. However, we did have one commissioner that was an ally to us, and this sort of did invigorate our local community, and it led to us gaining a lot of support after holding protests. And also, what occurred as a result is two of my Black Lives Matter chapter head organizers, my managers, ended up being elected to the county commission and city council later on. So to conclude, The PTA, school board, city council, county commission, and nonprofit organizations are imperative institutions and avenues that we can use, which play a vital role in creating change in local education policy. And I really don't want us to underestimate the power of community organizing, civic engagement, and policy writing to create change within your community. And this can happen in a variety of ways, which that's why I wanted to include the case studies and examples. And within my own example, even if you feel within the moment, whenever you're doing this, even if you feel like what you're doing isn't successful or you're not seeing the change that you wanted to see, years later, after we were frustrated with not having any success with the commission, we were frustrated with that. But years later, now two of my managers from that county chapter of BLM are in city council and county commission. So eventually we were able to make some great changes. And then these are my sources. And this is how you can contact us. Wanted to put all of our information on here. And thank you for watching, and feel free to ask any questions.